All right, let's dive in. The world of AI investing. It's just so noisy, isn't it? Everybody's got a hot tip, everyone's promising you the next big thing. Today, we're going to cut right through all of that to find out what's really going on behind the curtain. I mean, you've heard this a million times lately, right? This idea that one single brilliant investment in some AI company could be it. The one that just sets you up for life. Game over. But come on, let's be real here. The vast majority of these can't-miss tips, they're just noise. They're clickbait. They're designed to get you excited, not to give you any kind of solid, real-world analysis. So, if we just tune out all that hype, where should we actually be looking? Well, the real story, the real money, it isn't in all the flashy AI ops you see. It's in the absolutely massive, essential plumbing, the infrastructure that's being built to power it all. And when I say massive, I mean it. By 2030, we're talking about a $4 trillion market for AI infrastructure. That's where the real power players are making their moves. So let's take a look at who they are. First on our list is a company that for most people is totally invisible, but it operates like a global monopoly. I'm talking about Taiwan Semiconductor, or as everyone calls them, TSMC. Now, just look at this chart. This is what you call dominance. TSMC makes 90% of the world's most advanced processors. 90%. Just let that sink in for a second. If you're a company that wants to build the future of AI, there's basically no way around them. You have to go through TSMC. And this quote just nails it. It's the perfect analogy. They aren't just selling chips, they've built the essential toll booth for the entire AI superhighway. Every major tech company has to line up and pay the toll. So here's the big dilemma, right? On one hand, owning a piece of that toll booth seems like a stroke of genius for any portfolio. But on the other, having the entire world rely on one single company in one very specific part of the world, you can see how that starts to look like a ticking geopolitical time bomb. Okay, so we've talked about the brains of the operation. Now let's shift gears to something just as critical, the memory. And that brings us to our next company, Micron. You know, the processors get all the love and headlines, but right now, there's what Micron themselves are calling an unprecedented shortage of the high-end memory that AI needs. The demand is so completely off the charts that their revenue just shot up 57% in one quarter. And I love this way of thinking about it. If AI is the new electricity and companies like TSMC are building the giant power plants, well, Micron is providing all the wiring. They're connecting everything so the whole house can actually light up. You just can't have one without the other. And this really frames the investment perfectly. You have two choices. Either you believe AI is the new electricity, that it's here to stay and is fundamental to everything, or you think it could just be a fad, in which case their $100 billion bet on building new factories could backfire, leaving them with a massive overcapacity problem. All right, for our final company, let's talk about an underdog, or at least a company that a lot of people seem to have written off in the AI race. Alphabet, Google's parent company. Yeah, the whole narrative out there is that Google is losing, that they're behind. But then you look at the numbers, and they tell a totally different story. In just 6 months, they added 250 million new users to their AI, Gemini. That is not what a company that's losing ground looks like. And then came this, the real shock to the system. Apple, one of the biggest, most powerful companies on the entire planet, is reportedly paying Alphabet $1 billion just to put Gemini inside of Siri. I mean, that's a massive admission from Apple that they couldn't build it themselves fast enough, and it proves that Google's ecosystem is still the default setting for the world. So what does this all mean? Is Alphabet just in survival mode, barely fending off its rivals? Or is its sheer incredible scale setting it up to dominate the long-term AI marathon, not just this initial chaotic sprint? So we've looked at the three big players, but to really get what's going on here, we have to look at a few angles that, honestly, most of the mainstream reports seem to be missing. First up is this idea, and it's so important, the picks and shovel strategy. Think back to the gold rush. You could gamble on one miner striking it rich, or you could be the guy selling picks and shovels to all the miners. In the AI gold rush, the hardware companies, TSMC, Micron, they're selling the shovels. They get paid no matter which chatbot or AI app ends up winning. So let's just recap these three critical points. First, you've got the picks and shovels reality, bet on the builders. Second, you have to think about the valuation gap. I mean, with all this hype, are you already paying way too much for these stocks? And third, you can never, ever forget the geopolitical gamble, especially with everything that surrounds a company like TSMC. Okay, so let's try to bring this all home. With these huge numbers and incredibly high stakes, are we looking at a clear roadmap to the future? Or is this whole thing just a collective hallucination?
The bottom line seems to be that these companies are riding absolutely massive waves that could go on for years. But you have to remember, in the tech world, years is basically an eternity. So much can change, and it can change fast.
So at the end of the day, it really forces you to ask yourself a very personal question. Are you just looking for a quick flip, a short-term trade, or do you really have the stomach to hold on through all the crazy ups and downs that are guaranteed to happen in a $4 trillion revolution? And that leaves us right here with the final and maybe most important question of all. What do you think? Is this $4 trillion prediction a realistic, sober roadmap for the future of technology, or is it just a brilliant, fantastic piece of marketing hype? The answer to that is probably going to define the next decade of investing.